So welcome to the program. This program today is titled Talk on Mental Wellness. As you might all be aware, I've been appointed District Chairperson for Mental Awareness for the year 2024-25. And for the benefit of Dr. V. George Reddy, I'd like to tell you that Alliance International is a global organization, and Alliance serve in different ways. We have our own priority areas like vision, diabetes, childhood cancer, and several other things. And mental wellness is not a top focus yet, but we know that the world needs a lot of information and intervention in terms of mental wellness. That's why we thought we should take this up on a large scale. Dr. V. George Reddy and Dr. J.C. Kavitha have been invited today to talk to us about mental wellness. This is the first initiative this year. Our year begins on July 1st and closes on June 30th. So this is our live district year. So we wanted to launch this program on the first day itself. That's why I've invited both of you. And thank you very much for accepting my invitation and coming you. For the benefit of everybody, I just would like to give a brief background to this program. Some 3 to 4 years ago, we started a program called STEP. The full form of the word STEP was Student Talent Enhancement Program. We created our own curriculum, and the curriculum was called 4 C's. 4 C's stood for confidence, collaboration, communication, and compassion. So we went to schools and colleges, and we took permission from the college principals and headmasters, and we offered this very short curriculum, which was very highly flexible. So it could be delivered in different languages. It could be delivered with a PPT, without a PPT. It could be delivered to a small audience, a large audience. And it was quite diverse in its nature. And we offered this, and then we were extremely successful. And we reached more than 1 lakh students and reached more than 200 schools and colleges. And the program is still continuing at a maybe subdued form. Encouraged by the format and also the success of this program. Now, this year, we would like to launch something called STEP MW. The program, as can be easily understood, is about mental wellness. And the curriculum is not finalized yet. We are in the process of finalizing it. As I was just telling you, we had a brainstorm session last week, and I invited a few like-minded people who had the training potential to help me create this curriculum. And we generated lots of ideas, and we put them together, and we also invited participants to prioritize them so that we can choose some 4 or 5 areas which we can focus on when we take them to school. Because mental wellness is such a vast area, identifying 1 or 2 programs is really very difficult. And that's why we thought we should confine to a few most important areas. And that's why I requested Dr. George and Dr. Kavitha to help me identify these focus areas. Maybe they will help us during the presentation today and also later. So the goal is to reach again as many schools as possible, as many students as possible, as many colleges as possible, and the team of trainers are ready. So what I've done is I've invited Dr. George Reddy today. Dr. George Reddy, I'm sorry, one second. Dr. George Reddy is a consultant psychiatrist, and he works at Healthy Brain Hospital in Hyderabad. He is the president of several psychiatry societies at the state level, at the national level, and at international level. Also, he visits the Cherlapalli jail on a freelance basis, and he helps the inmates. He counsels them and helps them. This is something very, very important, because the jail inmates typically, do not get the kind of support that they really deserve. So Dr. George has made it possible to go there frequently and counsel them so that they reform. He is an honorary consultant to many, many, many NGOs. Among them, the one that all of us know is the Missionaries of Charity, Mother Teresa Home for the Dying Destitutes in Mashirabad. He goes to the de-addiction clinics. He also helps Don Bosco, Navjeevan, etc. And earlier, He worked at the National Institute for the Mentally Handicapped and served as a consultant at WHO also. So I think we are very happy that Dr. George is with us, and then he is going to talk to us about a few important areas in which we can focus when we go to schools and colleges, and also what exactly this mental wellness is, and how do we go about delivering this, and what are the usual, typical, serious issues that we need to focus on. He'll help us. And we have also invited Dr. Kavitha today. Dr. Kavitha is I think she is popularly known not by her name. People call her the happiness woman. So because wherever she goes, she takes happiness with her, and she teaches people how to be happy. And she's a happiness speaker. She is an ambassador, social activist for world peace and happiness. And you may not believe me if I tell you that she has not counseled 1,000 people, 5,000 people, 10,000 people, not even 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, but she so far has counseled 6 lakh women and adolescents. I think this is something amazing, just unbelievable. I don't know how she managed it. She is quite young, I think, but at a very young age, she has achieved this miraculous, remarkable achievement. She has designed a program. The name of the program is Happiness is Your Birthright. So you have a right to be happy, like the Constitution of India promises us a few rights. So she tells us that happiness also is a right that all of us have. Uh, she has a very long list of awards. I don't really like to read all of them, but the most important is she has been recognized by national governments, and there is she received several gold medals, recognitions, and one of the highest awards has been given to her by International Positive Psychology Association. So I welcome her also to this program, and I thank both of them for joining us this evening. I request Dr. George to speak to us first, and once again I request him to lay focus on a few important areas that are relevant to mental wellness. Over to Dr. George. You can unmute yourself. I'm muting the others, please. 1 second. Just allow me to mute others so that there won't be any disturbance. Dr. George, you can unmute yourself now. You are a co-host. You can unmute yourself. 1 second. Oh, yeah, I have made you co-host again. Yeah, now you can do it. Yeah. Yes.
Yes, thank you, sir. At the outset, respected chair for the Mental Wellness Committee, Lion M. nagaRAJU, sir. I think indeed it's pleasure to be with so many lions and so many other participants. I've been an active participant with the Lions Club at Siddipet. I think Lion Srinivas sir was there, and it was really wonderful. We did a lot of activities while I was the president for the state, Telangana state, and for the Hyderabad psychiatry. Indeed, it's a pleasure to be among the intellects here, and definitely it's nice to see that. First, I would really be very happy that you have put this word, the mental wellness. The mental wellness, I'm sure we all have a big stigma for this word mental, but I think it's so apt that you have put this word. Mental means mind, and it's a kind of word, though it's stigmatizing, but still, I think it's the apt that the mental wellness is appropriate for discussion, for spreading the information. I think you're doing wonderful from the Lions Club to go from the school level. I think I've given 20 minutes to talk, sir. I think I'll just try to focus on the things which I'm trying to look from my own practice, which I'm seeing on day-to-day basis. And I think it's the government's initiative too, that looking at drug addiction and drug dependence. I think this is one area I think we need to be with the government to help to resolve this big monster called the drug and drug addiction. For that matter, even I think when you're going to the schools, for example, now recently in our state conference, we tried to conduct a rally at Nizamabad where we asked the students the higher grade students to participate in this rally for the very purpose that we wanted them to know that, right from primary prevention is to talk about this kind of issues. I think all of us should start working at drug addiction and the problem or the menace in the youth. It is like, at least in my clinical practice, I see children coming with ganja addiction right from 8th and 9th class, which is really alarming. I think we all need to focus on this, particularly on this point, because parents who are coming from low socioeconomic status might be they're trying to work hard to send the children to school, and might be that's where it's starting. And you all might be seeing in the news, even the children coming from international schools, they're getting all this through other ways. So I think definitely it has a lot to talk, and it has a lot of implications on the mind and the psyche. And there are so many disorders which we see when children or young adults, for that matter, or it could be even the elderly, whoever is going into addiction into any kinds of substance. It could be basic alcohol to any kind of high potent drugs like cannabis, or you talk about any kind of other drugs like LSD or whatever you're seeing now. All these drugs have a major effect on the brain and the psyche or the mind or the mental well-being. And in large, because it's a taboo that someone talks about drugs at school, people might think that, is it that we are trying to expose them to all this? No, that's a myth. The more you try to talk to children, particularly in the children who are at risk, but particularly at risk, I think it would be the best. And at least I have been doing this kind of activities for the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking with the YWCA, and we have been doing so many activities right from school children, from the government schools and government colleges, junior college and intermediate degree colleges, and the youth needs to be addressed. And now the bells are ringing. I think all of us should look at this as an emergency condition, and we need to really go into the public to talk about illness. Particularly if you really ask me as a psychiatrist, what kind of problems we are seeing with drug addiction and the issues are, the major kind of issues we see their behavioral patterns changing. They start to behave very abnormal. They start to think abnormal. So they obviously have to behave abnormal. It could be rage. It could be kind of severe psychotics. It could start from there and it could lead to severe psychosis, where, these people hallucinate, they talk to themselves, and they can do any kinds of crime under influence of these hallucinations or this kind of symptoms. Again, if you look at these substances, attack the dopamine levels and serotonin levels in the brain, I think, which causes the mischief. When it crosses the range, I think then it has to go to psychosis. So children commonly seeing with psychosis, we are seeing with depression, anxiety, we are seeing children with, or the youth with insomnia, and we are seeing these kind of patterns of behavior, which is again leading to taking other substances also. So usually alcohol is the best friend for many drugs. So under the intoxication and the influence of these drugs, the crime and the antisocial or dissocial behavior is on the rise. I think this, if you can really take it into the public, I think it's the biggest activity or the seva or the service we are doing for this society. Today, nagaRAJU sir was asking me to talk, but then I was trying to say that this would be my major concern or interest of topic. And sir was, thanks for this nice introduction, sir. I'm a part of the Cherlapalli jail as a non-official visitor appointment by the government of Telangana. But with the last International Day Against Drug Abuse, I was there in the jail to create awareness. I could see at least 300 to 400 inmates, might be who are under trial or who are convicted or whatever stage they are. There are many either are they're habitual defaulters, either they are consuming or either they are trying to traffic the drugs. That's how they are caught. So it's like, the kind of, and mind you, many of them are below 30. That is the data. And, might be, it is again we don't know where this society will go if we try to keep on, I think excellent initiative by the government of Telangana under this chief minister. I think it's good that he is trying to do something from the scratch. And next, coming to the things which commonly have to look at the mental wellness. For me, again, defeat depression is a kind of my favorite hashtag. But we need to defeat depression, and the concept of depression, again, it's not that only a particular group has to suffer. In our practice, we see children, right? Right from children who are in below the fifth standard or even much younger to the late elderly who are in 80s, 90s, who come with depression. Might be depression again is on the rise. Maybe data also is talking about so many reasons why depression is on the rise. And one reason might be that the awareness is increasing. The people are coming for help. Might be we are able to generate so much of data about the incidence and the prevalence. And at least I practice once a week. I go to the rural clinics at Gajuel and Siddipet, where my majority of the population of patients, they come from either from the lower middle class, middle class, even from the lower socioeconomic status, where the depression is a major concern for many of the patients. Many of them go in the form of somatoform illness. They talk about pains and they do a lot of doctor shopping, and ultimately they land up in, when we see it, it's clear that it's a depression. So depression, again, it may not be that it can be only with a particular sect of people. It can be with any person and any age group. And it is very easy to diagnose depression. But only thing is we need to spend time with them and we need to take the details. And the common symptoms when we look at depression, first thing is you'll see the person is deviating from his normal behavioral pattern. He's either too dull or is very agitated. You can see his patterns of biological functions changing. Either the sleep is either decreased markedly or they tend to sleep more. And in terms of their appetite, they start to take very less food, or sometimes they can even take more food. But there is definitely a change in their pattern of behavior, and the caretakers or who are there with them, I think they'll be able to identify them. As the stages of depression, when it comes from mild to moderate to severe, these symptoms go on increasing, and then they start to lose interest in their daily activities. They start to get secluded, be aloof, and they might start to show that disinterest in their pleasurable activities or daily activities. They stop avoiding work, and slowly when it goes to moderate to severe, I think they feel life is worthless. That's where it starts. And initially it starts with occasional thoughts, then slowly these thoughts, they go on, the intensity of the thoughts and the severity of the thoughts, they start to increase, whereby they might go land up in feeling or committing act of suicide. And there will be the severe depression. We can see either they're complete suicides or there are again incomplete suicides. So I think here the role of mental health professionals will be there in the moderate to severe. But when it's coming to mild form, I think all of us can do that. It's like, when we want to help somebody, that's enough. That's the qualification we need. And when you just can know how to deal with them, might be sometimes even just listening to them, it would give them a lot of kind of soothing sensation. That's where they open up. Again, the stigma is, if you talk about suicide, somebody might really commit suicide. Again, that's a myth. If it is always good to talk, and if they are expressing the severity of the thoughts, I think then you need to be more cautious, and if required, take the professional help, or spending time, and if required, a psychologist or a psychiatrist for medication. Because severe depression, I think it ideal is to leave it to the psychiatrist to start off some medication, or now again a taboo in the society, ECT. That's a very good therapy for severe depression, because it can just turn the suicidal severity into minimal. But there are a lot of other interventions along with CBT, psychotherapy, and medication. That's where about depression. And again, depression many times it can present with anxiety. So there we call it as mixed anxiety depression, and where the person is very anxious, they have a lot of panic attacks. They feel that they can't face this situation at that time. The heart pounds. They are very restless and they're irritable, and it's again question of in what kind of situation. Is it an external factor, or sometimes even people suffering from endogenous factors like thyroid and other biological problems also can present with anxiety. Again, differentiating with external versus the internal factors, I think anxieties can be can be handled very well. Now, sir, as you are talking about mental wellness and the school level, sir, I think um, for the youth, at least, sir, when you're trying to look at school and the college or the degree colleges, I think we should really discuss about anxiety, because many children have anxiety-related issues. It could be either because of the exam or the studies, or for that matter, if it is there in the genes, or sometimes the home environment, turns them to face a lot of stress, and that can be converted into anxiety. And many times, traumatic childhood is one of the common reason why they later turn to suffer from anxiety-related issues. And again, early adolescence, identification, and helping this kind of children or youth, I think it will be really a great service according to me, because at least from my practice over the past 20 years, suddenly a guy, a young handsome guy or a girl, a beautiful girl comes, sir, do you remember me? Obviously, I say, no, I'm not, I can't, but she just, or he or she would say, sir, you treated me when I was in the school. Now I'm in the US, or now I've joined this service, I'm doing this job, that job. And it's like, that's where I think we feel so happy. It's like, trying to save a person from cardiac arrest, or, it's like giving them a real life, because this is so debilitating, and the suffering is so high that, it makes them actually totally incapacitated. So anxiety, depression, simple to treat, simple to identify, and simple to treat. It can be done at every level at every level of severity. So might be, I think in this group of audience, I think it would be impossible if anyone says that I have never suffered anxiety or I have never gone through a phase of depression. I think I'll definitely say might be including me if I say that I am trying to talk something which is not true. So might be when it is mild and fleeting, I think things go off by simple, meeting somebody, talking to somebody, and that will definitely help. But might be if we can go with some little, tips how to handle them particularly, I think it will give a result in the long run. And another point which again I'm commonly seeing in my clinic on the rise, I'm just trying to look at issues which are on the rise. I'm seeing a lot of people coming with issues with pertaining to memory. And it is like, again, in Hyderabad, seeing a person or elderly coming with dementia is not a big surprise for me, because the awareness or somebody refers and that's how they land up for treatment. Dementia is on the rise, particularly elderly, it is on the rise. And the incidence prevalence is increasing. Senile dementia, Alzheimer's dementia is again increasing. I think we all should be aware of dementia. And again, though as of now, it's not a treatable condition, but still, at least, people suffering from senile and early dementia, if they are, identified early, and if it asks the caregivers and the person suffering from early dementia, I think the prognosis is much better when compared to a person who is coming with dementia or Alzheimer's or senile dementia. I think the prognosis goes poor when you are going to the severe form of dementia. Again, the problem again is worsening, because now we are seeing people coming with 50s and early 40s and 50s. They're showing signs and symptoms of dementia. This is called as pre-senile dementia, again, which is a rare condition, but again, it is on the rise. So what could be the factors? Again, it could be the role of genes. It could be the role of the metabolic conditions, whether early diabetic, early hypertensive or uncontrolled diabetic hypertensive, risk of alcohol intake, smoking, and the stress. And all these things, and particularly sleep deprivation is one major reason. Over long chronic sleep deprivation can lead to all these kind of issues. And again, trying to modify and change your lifestyle, I think there starts the correction. And it need not be a taboo again. It need not be a stigma. It need not be an anxious thing that, when you're forgetting, it's better we accept it and we go for help. Many times people present with memory issues, but again, here we see the youngsters also talking about memory issues. There, I think we have to look at rule out depression, because people who suffer from depression, they tend to have memory issues. But again, it's transient, it is a reversible condition. So we need to, when we make a differential diagnosis, again, we need to look at depression in anybody. Even elderly also, if they talk about memory issues, we simply can't jump into diagnosis of a dementia. But we need to really look at depression, because it is again a silent kind of a morbid giver, and might be treatable condition is again depression. The last thing I would like to take is again the sleep related issues. Many of us are going through, might be even it could be our lifestyle, it could be a kind of the stress related lifestyle, or the kind of sleep hygiene. Might be we are trying to get up with the lights, again we are trying to sleep with lights. So I think we are not even trying to see the natural light, and that's why I think we see all of us into vitamin D deficiency, including me, because again, the source of life, again, the sun, I think we all are missing that. So might be issues pertaining to sleep disturbance again on the rise, and everybody has an excuse for sleep disturbance. And again, particularly in the youth and the people or the young people who are working, or the elderly for that matter. But we see a lot of people coming from this the night shifts, and people who are going through a lot of stress. I think the presenting problem is again sleep. Though diagnosis for sleep, primary insomnia is very rare. Usually it's all secondary related to some XYZ condition. In fact, mental health, many of the conditions you talk about, everything, the one of the symptom is sleep issue. So might be addressing sleep underlying condition, I think it will resolve. Many times sleep again is just simple correction of the lifestyle might lead to the recovery, but again in the early phases when it goes into severe form, I'm sure we may again have to take the help of some medication, short course of treatment again, and try to help. With this, I think I would conclude. I was one person who would always talk about in the treatment part. Even my prescription, I don't hesitate to write. Like if I write 3-4 tablets, at the end I will write like a prescription that advice is regular. You do exercise, you go for a walk, and yoga and all that. I've been only advocating, but I think at least the past 1.5 year, the NIMHANS, Bangalore. They're doing a lot of studies talking about yoga and linking with depression, and yoga, anxiety, yoga, schizophrenia, yoga, bipolar. They're trying to do a lot of research, and it is really wonderful to see that yoga helps in many conditions, particularly related to mental health. So I was like, when I was going through these programs and conferences, then I was like, trying to search where do I get yoga, because the COVID, I think many of us tried, but it was not serious. But then when I found a teacher, I've been it's a year and a half that I'm regularly going to yoga. I think now I'm in a better position to tell my patients or my clients that yoga helps. Could be for that matter, any kind of exercise would help, but always look at yoga and the pranayama or all the meditation relaxation techniques, because it's wonderful to see that it helps each one of us. There is no age, and I think it should be in a curriculum, that yoga should be a part of the school curriculum. There should be half an hour program in the schools, and it should be mandate. I think then the children will have a lot of things coming. With this, I think I will end. There are so many things. I think now the role of phone and addiction, the internet, the addiction related to gaming, I've seen recent one of my client has come with, he has lost around 90 lakhs in betting. Like this initially when it was 2 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 30, then now I've seen the recent is 90 lakhs. So these things are going on, but might be if we have a bigger time or then this kind of platform, I love to talk. With these words, I think, sir, thank you for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this group. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Judge. 20 minutes was too short a time, I know, because the subject is too very exhaustive. We'll certainly invite you to a full-length presentation, a physical presentation to one of our meetings, and then I would like you to, because you have covered almost everything in such a short time, so very exhaustively and so very clearly, quite a lot of things you made clear. Just to tell you, I worked in Gajwel in a government degree college. But I never knew that drug addiction was such a serious job till you told me. Till I did not realize. Maybe I was blind, or maybe the students were doing it quite stealthily. I don't know. But I never realized it was there. I mean,
it's now in the villages, sir. My own village from Karimnagar. I have seen 2 children. They're just in the it is like group of 14 to 16. Father, poor fellows, and I could just diagnose it that this fellow is into ganja. I am talking about the village, sir. Gradual to ho gaya, Siddipet, all these are fully with all these kind of things, sir. In the very future, sir, might be very short if this government doesn't, if it is continuing, I think it might reduce. But otherwise, sir, you are getting more potent drugs even at district levels.
This is really very sad. I think something must seriously be done. And I think Lions will certainly have a bigger role to play. Today is Doctor's Day. I request all of you to please go to reactions and click on the bouquet. So let's give a bouquet, a floral virtual bouquet to Dr. George Reddy.
Thank you.
All of us. Yeah. May I wait for a few seconds? Shall we all give a floral bouquet to Dr. George Reddy for the wonderful talk that he has given? Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Doctor. So let's move on to Dr. Kavitha. I invite her to address us, and then maybe Dr. Kavitha can cover a few things other than Dr. Raj Reddy has already told us, and also you may focus on what role Lions can play in answering or addressing some of these issues.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair, Lion nagaRAJU Garu, and then all the other co-lions. Wonderful evening to you all. Sir, it's my honor to address today, and thank you so much for inviting me. And I thank Dr. George for setting up the context for today's conversation, because I think the context is already set, so I just need to take it way forward, to understand like what is that the Lions can do at to really promote this mental well-being at different layers of intervention, if I have to really talk about. So the first thing probably could be, as Dr. George was mentioning just now, how the attachment styles or the parenting styles can influence a child's mental well-being. Because an adult is a manifestation of a child. The adult is a manifestation of a childhood experience. That is something that we cannot absolutely deny. So we need to understand how the attachment styles play a very key role in creating an adult. Probably to cite it a little example of like what Lions can do as a program. And probably before that, I would want to give an insight of how important it is to understand parenting style or the attachment style. We all know very well that a child is completely dependent on a primary caregiver during the early developmental years. For the emotional development, physical development, mental development, we are talking about the cognitive development. We are talking about all the areas of development. The overall holistic development is something that we are talking about. And we also know very well that 80% of the brain is developed by the age of 7 or 8. This is the research this is science that states that. So how important does a primary caregiver, how important role does the primary caregiver, has to do with the bringing up of the child as an aspect that really relates to the mental well-being. because until there is a holistic development at all the spheres, we are talking about the social development, emotional development, physical development, cognitive development, and academic development, until there is a holistic development or a definite development in all these areas, a child's mental health will not be balanced. So the role of a primary caregiver is very, very important. So I think as the first program from our multiple, we have to address core on the core parenting skills. The core parenting skills, like what are the parenting skills and how are they important? Because most of us, we really do not know how to do a parenting. Most of the parenting skills are based upon how my mother has read me up. Maybe if I'm better, I feel that is the right way of doing it because today I have established myself well. Or if there is something wrong I don't want to do, I don't want to actually adopt that, or I want to follow that. To probably give a joke on this to understand it better, an alcoholic had two sons. One turned out to be an hardcore alcoholic, and other turned out to be a very successful entrepreneur. When the question was asked, like, who is the reason? Both say my father. Both say my father, because one child has seen it as inspiration, to take it up, to adopt that specific behavior. The other child felt that this is not going to do good to me. So you never know what can influence a child. So for me, as per me, today, my 15 minutes time, what is being given to me, probably I would be focusing only on two major aspects. One is what is that Lions can do in order to really build upon the parenting skills, which are very important, because we are not taught parenting skills. We only mimic the parenting skills, or we only imitate the parenting skills. We don't do that. The second, what is that we can do at a school level, because a child is a combination of experience of home and the school environment, because we really cannot get on much to communities, because each community is so different. So if we have to really talk about the mental well-being, I think we need to talk about interventions happening at a parental level and interventions happening at a school level. So this would be as per me, these are the two major categories that we are looking at. So we are talking about the parenting level. When I say the parenting level, probably the intervention starts right from the prenatal care. The intervention starting from the pregnancy prevention. Probably we are looking at, because the person is not really ready for pregnancy. So what is that we can do to create that awareness? Say, what do you mean by becoming pregnant? What do you mean by bearing a child? So because what is the responsibility of a female and a male in order to bring a life onto this planet? So probably the whole idea on how important is, because I'm an early interventionist, so I understand that how important it is to know how much ready you are to really bear the child, which we really don't get into. I think so probably we are talking about the pregnancy, we are talking about the pre-pregnancy awareness of what exactly is that. And probably second thing could be on the prenatal care, maybe few programs talking about it. So after this, what is the next stage? Next stage is probably the early intervention. When I say early intervention, we are talking about the psychosocial elements or psychosocial training that we need to make a parent or a teacher understand at a early childhood level. How important it is, how important is the emotional growth, how important is the social growth, what are the activities, how much are they focusing. Though our education, though our programs, our curriculum talk about it, not many are conscious about it. They do it for the sake of doing. I think it is time that we need to focus upon how conscious we are to inculcate these skills into a child. How do we really build the emotions of the child? How do we really build the social skills of the child? How do we really build, because all the schools, all the things mostly focus on building the cognitive skills. When I say cognitive skills, they focus on the academic development. So how much they are focusing on the physical development, how much they are focusing on the emotional development. How many times does a teacher is not even sure What is her way of addressing to a child? What is her way of answering a child or responding to a child? And what impact can it have? I remember a case that has come to me long back. This was the case wherein the child took the homework to the teacher, and the teacher, because she was busy with something, she didn't bother to see, and she stamped the book, and the child got so scared of the teacher, that the child started failing in that specific subject, or the child was not showing interest in the specific subject. From not showing interest in the specific subject, the child started avoiding the subject. The reason might be pretty simple, because at home the father is a very serious person, and because of which the child has developed a kind of a fear for anything where there is a raise in the voice. When this has happened at the school level, the child started losing the interest in the whole subject as such. So the impact can be that high. So it's very, very important, where the focus is only on academics, only from an academic perspective, there needs to be a very conscious awareness that needs to be driven into the parents and to the teachers, how important it is to talk, to communicate, to make, and what is the contribution of a teacher towards the emotional development of children, what is the contribution of a parent towards the social development of children, what is the contribution of the towards, because the whole focus is on the core cognitive skills. I think it is very important. Just the cognitive skills, the mental, if we talk about the mental well-being, it comes only when the 4 needs are met. This is something I often keep talking in my Happiness is Your Birthright talks. The 4, I call them the spiritual needs, the needs that are very important for any human being. It could be a child or it could be an adult. The 4 most important needs, or the first one is the love. An adult or the child should know that they are loved in the community, because human being a social animal, it's very, very important that a human being is loved. It is being made to realize that it is an integral part of the society. It is an integral part of the society. If this is not given, if this is not consciously given, that can lead to any disturbance at any layer. So next is the safety. When I say safety, I'm talking about a physical safety and an emotional safety. When I say emotional safety, the way a person talks to the child, as Dr. George Reddy was just mentioning, when there is an insecurity, some kind of insecurity in the attachment between the primary caregiver, it could be the mother, it could be the father, it could be the grandmother, whosoever the child is spending more time with. If there is an insecure attachment with the primary caregiver, it can lead to many aspects. Okay, so this is something that I would like to talk later. Let me finish this now. So we are talking about a physical safety. We are talking about the emotional safety. I need to be valued. I need to be respected. I need to be felt that I'm okay. I can do mistakes. That's not a problem. Right? I need to have that safety. The third aspect that we are talking about is appreciation, because every human being, when we go across the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, appreciation, I need a self-respect. I need to know that I have a value in the society. I need to be appreciated for the work I do. This is the third most important thing that we do. I tell you where the anxiety can come in if this is not being met. Most of the parents, even if you have noticed, and even some of us would have done that, when a child is doing 90 good things or normal things without a big thing, if there is 10% of the mistake, we try to actually empower the mistake the child has done. We say, you are always like that, you are like that, you do this. So we are not focusing on the 90% what the child has done. So the child grows up with the thinking that I am not worth something, I am not good at something, I am not doing something. Okay, there is a kind of feeling low self-esteem and low sense of worth, which can lead to mental health issue when the child really grows up. So we are talking about the third basic foundational need, or the spiritual need, as I often keep mentioning, that is called the appreciation. And the fourth thing is acceptance. When I say acceptance, I am a human. To err is human. I can commit mistakes. Despite committing mistakes, I need to develop the resilience and I need to move forward. The society and people around me or the parents around me stop me in stating that I'm not worth something. So my life is stopped. My life is closed. I can't do anything. I'm telling you today, I have seen many students at school who fail in mathematics, not for the fear of the subject, but for the fear of the teacher and for the fear of the feedback that they get from the teacher. It is not for the fear of the subject. Most of the times, it is never the fear for the problem. It is the way you are understanding or perceiving the problem. And where does this perception come from? The perception is coming from the society around you. It could be the parents, it could be the teachers. So we are talking about that. So when these four needs are not met, at some layer the child turns out to be an adult, either or the child turns out to be a very insecure adult. When we talk about insecurities, we are talking about an anxious child. We are talking about an highly aggressive child. We are talking about a child like who's turn out to be an adult, like who has become a people pleaser. We are talking about that attachment style where the child has become a people pleaser. And we are talking about a child who has a positive self about themselves and who feels the whole world around them is bad, who feels the whole around them is bad, a kind of a narcissistic attitude the child develops. So if we notice the attachment style or the parenting or the schools, they do play a very, very important role in they do play a very, very important role in bringing up the mental health. There is no person in this world, as Dr. George was mentioning again, there is no person in this world like who has not faced a specific issue, because there is nothing. But we cannot completely prevent it, but we can definitely reduce it, because to be on an emotional stability all the while is definitely not so easy, because at the end of the day we are also human beings and we cannot deny that. So that's a part and parcel of it. But all we can do is, how do we create an awareness and how do we create a consciousness? How do we make the people understand? How do we make the people understand where the mistakes are going wrong? What is that they do? I think probably as lions, I think this is an awareness that we are talking about in bringing up the well-being in the communities, maybe starting right from a psychosocial development, right from a kindergarten or at an early childhood level to an adolescent level, wherein they can get into any kind of substance abuse or any other kind of mental disorders. So that is something that we need to understand, because when we know something, when somebody is into drugs, why do they get into drugs? What is that? What makes them to get into drugs? Because when a person is first, they start with a force from somebody, from a peer pressure, or from an experimentative mode of understanding what can happen. But suddenly they start feeling powerful. The person who was feeling so powerless at some point of time suddenly starts feeling more and more powerful, more ecstatic. There is no stress, no tension. That is the reason why the rave parties are increasing in the city. And we can see that rave parties are very well increasing, because there a person can be all on their own. They're independent. They are free from the fears. They are free from biases. They are free from the judgments. Because of all these things that is happening around them, they feel so powerless. And it's very hard to feel, because as a human being, I'm as a free will of my soul. First, my most important need is, I want to be independent to understand what the life is taking me around. When I'm judged, when I'm biased, the phobias, they start developing right from the childhood. So this is something that I think as Lions, probably this is an area that we need to work on. We need to work on how do we really bring in the parenting skills as an intervention, to really to really reduce or to bring up our positive well-being, or probably at a school level, we are talking about, especially less than 8-9 years of age. What is that we should be doing? How much of psychosocial skills are being put up in the child, and what is that the teachers are doing? How conscious are they in doing that? Because when we say psychosocial skills, it is a drama, it is a play, or give them some toys where they understand, or make them do certain activities that can bring in. But are they conscious about it? Are they consciously doing it? That's the question. Because I know when CCE was first introduced way back by Kapil Sibal, every school did that work, but nobody knew why they were doing it, because they had to give some grading. They have done it and they have done it. But nobody were sincere, nobody were serious, because they didn't know, like, how do you really assess a child? How do you grade a child on that? Because they are not used to it. I don't blame the teachers here. So I think that is very, very important that we need to focus on these 5 aspects of social development: physical development, emotional development. We are talking about cognitive development is anyways taken care of. That is absolutely not a problem. So we are talking about the social development, emotional development, and then we are talking about the physical development. I think if we can, and a bit of spiritual development, because as spiritual development is very, very important. As Dr. George Reddy was again mentioning, we are talking about yoga, we are talking about pranayama. What exactly are happening in that? What exactly are happening in that? As my guru, Dr. Shekhar Sheshadri, always insists, he insists that we need to understand it, because just a physical body at a gross level cannot bring you anything and everything, because physical body is just one of the very foundational layers. We are talking about a thought that can create a problem. We are talking about an emotion that is triggered by the thought. So we are talking everything at an energy level. We are not, a physical thing is just manifestation of an energy level. Because you all decided you will come here, so you are here. So everything has happened at a thought level. Then only the manifestation happens. So every disease, everything happens at a thought level. The thought creates a feeling. The feeling creates an emotion. This emotion is a reason for either happiness or sadness. So this is the simple principle and philosophy of life. And I think with this, because time is already getting over 9 o'clock, so I would like to end this talk and say that, I think I think that I added a bit of like what I could contribute to what kind of activities that we can do for this program. And thank you so much for your patient hearing and giving me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Dr. Kavitha. Thank you very much for giving us those insights. You have very, cleverly dealt with not only the problems, but also some possible solutions, what we can do with the parents, what we can do with the students, and how we can plan our further course of action. Thank you very much for all that. Shall we all give a thumbs up to, I think I'm just teaching you how to use the reactions also. So please give a thumbs up to Dr. Kavitha. Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you. And Dr. Kavitha, once again, thank you. Dr. George is still there. Dr. George, do you mind switching on your camera? We'll take some 4 or 5 questions. So the first 4 or 5 questions, please raise your virtual hand. If you go to reactions, there is a virtual hand. If you raise your virtual hand, I'll know that you have a question and I'll unmute you and you can ask the question. Either of the speakers can answer the question. I think earlier, yeah, Dr. Saroj, I am unmuting you. Your question, please. State your question. You can unmute yourself, Dr. Saroj.
Yes, sir. Thank you for this wonderful session. It was all about the child psychology, that how to they can come out from this stress. So my question is, Madam Kavitha, Madam, in today's world where the multitasking has become the buzzword in the competitive environment, so how to cope with stress and burnout?
To make the long answer sound very short, multitasking is one of the reasons for anxiety. I am sure Dr. George Reddy would agree with me on that. Because that is the reason why the mindfulness has started taking its own, strength across the globe. So I think multitasking is something wherein we need to, because doing everything at one go, it is impossible, because the focus or attention, it's very difficult to be put up on a specific task, on multiple things at the same time. It's not possible, because the mind has a capacity to focus on a specific thing for a certain amount of time. So here we need to know that when we have 1, 2, 3, 4 works, we need to know what is urgent, what is important, what should be delegated, and what should be kept aside for a longer view. I think that is a skill that we need to teach everybody. everybody. Let us say that I mean, to give a very small example, like, I have to decide like what is that I need to wear for my for some wedding or some function, and I need to make breakfast where the people have to go home. I need to know what is urgent and what is important, because this is also important, that is also important, because people leave by 8:30 and I need to also leave by 8:30, but making everybody leave at home is very important. So that is a skill that we need to understand. We need to differentiate what is urgent and what is important. I think when we know how to handle this, I think we know then what to take aside, because most of us, we are stuck, because I know pretty well, even I'm a victim to that. I take the mobile and I'm stuck on, I just wanted to see one message in WhatsApp, goes on and on, and I now realize that I'm done with 10 minutes now. Yeah. So I think it's very important that we train our mind to understand what is urgent and what is important. I think based on that we need to go. Then I think we can reduce the stress levels, because we cannot touch upon everything at one time, because of which we are into stress. That is one of the core reasons.
Thank you, Dr. Kavitha, and thank you, Dr. Saroj. The next question, please. Dr. Prakasha raised his hand earlier. I don't know if he has a question.
Just to add on this multitasking.
Yeah. Yes, doctor.
I think Dr. Kavitha, it's nice meeting you on this platform for the first time. Yeah, I think well said, and really thoroughly enjoyed your talk. I think a lot of motivational and a lot of insights. Basically, you're trying to talk from the ways to practical managing. If you look at the multitask again, I think you're totally right. I think it's you need to prioritize, and that's where you are able to handle your stress better in terms of anxiety. I think that's the fact. But there are the small population of people who are these so-called these multitaskers. They do a wonderful job. I think that's where they are. I think that's it's in very less population again. So they are the so-called the super successful persons in the society. Again, for a child or for a person coming to you, might be telling them all this will help them a lot. But again, to be a multitasker is excellent. So I think we really need to be multitaskers, and it will give you a lot of mileage in terms of personal satisfaction. You do a lot of work also to the it could be a home, like Kavitha was saying. It's wonderful that we see this is a multitasking. But again, to do multitasking, it is good actually. It is really beneficial. But the way Kavitha was trying to tell, I think we need to handle in that sense. It will give a lot of difference, and school children should be learned to do multitasking, because I think she used a very nice word. It's a password, definitely. But anywhere you go, again, survival of the fittest. Darwin's theory still holds good. So I think it will be a near normal in the future. Yeah.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you, both of you. There is a question from Asha. There are some instances when parents themselves encourage their children to take drugs or liquor or tobacco or whatever. So there are some instances where parents cultivate a habit at home and then they promote the use of liquor and drugs. So how do we handle that?
Kavitha, shall I take that question?
No, please. I'm just waiting for you to take the question. Yeah.
See, basically, if you're coming across any kind of persons who are doing this kind of thing, please suspect that they are not normal. Any parent doing that, just don't miss that there is an abnormal psychopathology in that individual or in that parent or parents. So for that, they could be under the influence, or they could be addicts. Or let's say if it is a fashion, if it's a kind of thing that yes, it is casual to smoke, or it is casual to drink, and casual to use drugs. Please eliminate this kind of thought process and this kind of individual, and it would be good to send them to a mental health professional. That parents should be handled by a mental health professional, not by the society. That's my take, because it's there. Because yes, it is very possible in the rich and affluent families. For that matter, I don't want to this platform to use who are those people, but yes, it's happening. I think that's where I think we are seeing this kind of kids being brought up, and they're left in this society. And that's where, as Kavitha was saying, the peer pressure is starting from this kind of children who are brought up or who are handled by this kind of parents. And the peer pressure just starts from there. And, one fellow starts to, contaminate others' mind, and that's how the peer pressure goes into that. It's the fashion. Yes, it's wow to be into drugs at that early age. So I think definitely it's not normal. It is abnormal, and we have to look at the role of genes, whether that person and his parents had this kind of any kind of mental health issues. Were they into addiction? Because the latest information to tell you all, addiction runs in genes.
Thank you, Doctor. Amarnath has a question. Amarnath is our Vice District Owner.
Good evening, sir, George and Kavitha, for a wonderful session. Thank you so much for sharing. But my question is, Corona has brought a lot of changes in the children. Now it has become a big challenge to the teachers to sit the children for 45 minutes in a classroom. As there is a disturbance, especially the children from studying 9th class, 10th class, and intermediate are very influenced with the peer groups. They are not ready to share their ideas or their expressions with the parents, neither with the teachers. They are very attractive, and nowadays after Corona, the drugs are available in remote villages also. Even the small kirana kotus also they are available. When we closely observe, when we are motherly treatment with the children, only then we can recognize that. But it has become a challenge. How can we overcome this? The teachers in the society, how can we recognize them and overcome them?
Shall I take it?
Yes, Kavitha, after you, I'll just make
I'll share the first bit of it, and probably the second half, like what he asked about, more at a clinical level, probably you can just answer. Mobile addiction has become one of the major reasons why the children have lost the focus. Because the mind is so much used to being in control, because every human being wants to be in control. That is again one of the needs, like, and having a mobile in your hand, or we usually say, I mean, there used to be a joke earlier, like, whosoever has the remote, he's the king of the home, right? He has an ability to change the channels, right? Same is the case even with the mobile, because nobody is able to sit on a particular screen for a long time. There is a change, there is a shift in the focus or attention, and definitely Corona has added to it, because mobile addiction is one of the major reasons for this lack of attention, or the mind not able to focus on a specific aspect for a quite long time. And second thing is, like, I think in a specific class also, there needs to be, because as a teacher trainer as well, because I look into the psychological perspectives of pedagogy of teaching. When a class has multiple activities focusing on the various learning strategies, using the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, or when there is an experience, a visual and a sensory experience, if a child is able to experience in a classroom, in a 45 minutes classroom, in fact, I mean, children can still sit. But if it is a lecture mode, then it's very difficult, even not for the children alone, even for the adults as well. It's very difficult to sit. So there needs to be an interactive classroom using all the senses, and the pedagogy of a classroom should be holistic in that nature. If a teacher, because our curriculum talks about it, it's not that it is not there. We talk about a physics lab, which I never heard a compute, I never heard a social skills lab during my schooling. I'm talking about way back in 92, 93. I never even knew that what it was. Okay. But now we see a lab for everything. But teachers, they do, as I told you, the whole problem with this, the poverty is not for the food. The poverty is for being conscious on a certain thing. People are not conscious why they are doing something. They do for the sake of doing it. And they listen for the sake of listening to something. They don't want to listen for the sake of understanding something. So the teacher is busy with the job, a child is busy with his job. So I think it is important that the teacher uses the various pedagogy tools of using all the senses to create the interest or to get the attention of the children. That's very important. If it is a lecture mode, I'm 100% sure that I agree with the children. I support children, and we are not interested. What's the big deal about it? You're talking and I'm listening. You talk for the sake of completing. I talk for the sake of listening. So it's a win-win situation for both the teacher and the student. I think I leave the second part to Dr. Judge.
I think the other from the other point from the other angle to think, if all of us know why this nuclear bomb was invented. So you use it for the good, I think it's going to give a lot of energy and so many things. But if you use it in the wrong, it is a destructive invention. So I think same is with the mobile and all that. So now coming to the COVID and post-COVID, I'm sorry, I'm just making this kind of statement. Apologies to all the teachers and all the parents, including me. It is, according to me, it has become an excuse. The COVID has become an excuse to the teachers, to the parents, and you give the child an instrument where you can't handle it properly. And now, at least I come across children coming with dyslexia, with ADHD and all this. The parents wonderfully leave the blame to COVID. Sir, this COVID only has created the problem. Otherwise, my child is good. So who wants that explanation? Where is it? So unfortunately, the so-called we give more fees to the schools. So the more tabs, best tabs the child is getting, and it is doing a hell of mischief. So until and unless the parents, teachers, the school, they don't know how to make the kids understand, or as Kavitha was saying, you should make them understand how to use this wonderful gadget. And now it is blame that COVID. So COVID can't take every blame. COVID only can take the worst blame is it has killed so many people. Even after 3-4 years after COVID, if somebody some shop wala is crying that I lost the business because of COVID, where I can counsel that fellow? So like that, I think it's enough. The COVID blame is over. It is high time now. The teachers have to come back, or the parents should come back. This is a dangerous instrument, and it has a role on the mental health of the child. I think addiction is again on the rise because of handling the gadget in the inappropriate way. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. I like that answer because no longer the blame game perhaps should be continued. The last question for the day is from Renuka.
Good evening. Actually, this is not a question, sir. My observation. Congratulations, Dr. Reddy and Kavitha's, whatever. It's a great, what I understand is we have to motivate the primary caretakers more rather than the students, because this is the observation what I got, because I visited most of the rural background students this year, last year. One thing is they have lack of attention. They don't have a hearing ear. Nobody hear their whatever their feelings. They cannot vent their emotions. Or as Mother Teresa said, people are poor, those who don't have love and affection. So these are the primary problems. This kind of our program should focus on this. So education should be more rather than to the adolescents or whatever students we are thinking of. But the education must be to the parents or primary caretakers or school teachers. And this is exactly what is our life skill program. The quest is whatever solutions Dr. Kavitha has given. That's what we are doing in the quest program. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I must profusely thank both the doctors for giving their time and making this such a wonderful, well-participated program. I have a request to both the doctors. In the Telangana context, Telangana luckily is still not Punjab. And I think we still can be afforded to be a little more optimistic, happy, positive about this. In the Telangana context, if I go to a school and if I do a program for the students, school students, 10th class students, that's my target group. So I have just 60 minutes to do a program on mental wellness. So is there one single skill, or what is the most important skill that I must build them to be more mentally healthy? One single skill that I can focus on. Is it health habits? Is it sleep habits? Is it
To
meditation?
me, it is like developing that emotional connection with the children in a proper way. Because for me, everything, anything, the core of every development is an emotion. Like what is that the teachers or the primary caregivers or whosoever we are addressing should focus on? Because in all the workshops I conduct, my first would be building the emotional connection. How do we do that? Workshops. This is aspect.
Thank you, Dr. Kavitha. Dr. Judge, what skill should I promote among students to make them more healthy in terms of their mind?
So, first of all, apologies. When you say you're going to a 10th class student, sir, I wish invest your time on a age group which is much younger.
Okay.
Because recently, sir, I think we have, I think I was the person connecting the government and the our psychiatrist forum. I think just before the 10th exams, I think in Hyderabad, at least, I think 100 and odd, 120 psychiatrists, we volunteered to go to the 10th class students for stress management before the exams. So what I noticed is, it's very tough to handle these children at that time, basically just before exam. If not even the exam, I think it is very difficult to get connected to them at that age group because they have already developed a pattern of behavior right from, as Kavitha was saying, I think emotionally they are lacking a lot. So I think it should be better we invest the time on a group which is much lesser. But if you really ask me, sir, one point to be connected. So I wish, these children should really understand that the role of education system is a holistic one, and it should look at overall development. And I think definitely talking about the present menace of drug, mobile, and the kind of relationships they're going through.
Thank you
Relationship
very much.
issues. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot. I'll be in touch with you and maybe I'll trouble you again and again. And I perhaps will ask you to help me with designing the 60-minute or 90-minute curriculum for taking to schools and colleges. And that is my goal this year. And thank you very much for coming, spending your time. I know it must have been very, very difficult for you to take out time during your busy hours. Thank you everybody for coming. Thank you for participating. It's not a very big gathering, but I think it's a very good gathering of participants. So thank you very much once again.